Welcome to the Wanderer's Universe, where stories filled with magic and mysteries are told to all those wishing to listen. I, the wandering storyteller, shall be your host today. Let's start then, shall we? We resume our story in a strange ethereal realm, with the only thing visible around being an endless lake below, with bright lights swirling in random patterns, both inside the water and in the air above the lake itself. At some point, an unknown entity appeared, its vague human shape mostly hidden behind a mystical grey fog. That same entity swiftly used a thought to coalesce one of those swirling lights into a somewhat blurry human male shape. However, the soul still slumbered, its consciousness seemingly needing more time to recover completely. As time had no real meaning in this realm, seconds or eons could have passed before the unknown entity noticed the soul twitching slightly, bringing a smile to its face. The male soul's mind, now completely reformed, allowed him to see the environment he found himself in, though his perception had truly nothing to do with his eyes. Feeling confused at the sight around him, he thought, "Am I actually dead?" As soon as the thought formed in his mind, a sudden chuckle resounded in his ears with its origin unknown.
"You're correct, Damian Knight. Losing so much blood in so little time, your body couldn't take it and your vitality dispersed completely, leading to your untimely death."
The voice seemed male, though Damian did not trust his senses blindly. After all, someone able to meet his soul after death had to be strong enough to change his voice pitch in any way he wanted. As if the entity could read his mind, which was probably the case, Damian had.
"You're an amusing one, kid. You're half correct, by the way. This body of mine is just a projection. Otherwise, just looking at me or hearing my real voice would obliterate your soul instantly. You're still too weak for now, after all."
Hearing the man's words, Damian felt it made sense. Thinking about it in terms of dimensional difference, it was akin to having a one-dimensional being forcefully bear the sight of a four-dimensional one. The only possible result was the complete destruction of the former. Still, many questions bubbled inside his mind before his attention was attracted to the unknown man's following words.
"I understand that you might have many questions, but the answers will have to wait until you become much stronger than you are now. After all, knowing too much too soon would only be detrimental to you."
Pausing for a second, he continued.
"That being said, I will still tell you a few things. First things first, your death. Without going into too much details, it happened in another multiverse. There, you were supposed to be thrown into the local reincarnation cycle where you'd live a new life with no memories of your previous one."
Hearing those words, Damian immediately caught the implied meaning behind them. "The way you say it, does that mean I'm in a different multiverse now?" The question made the unknown man's grin grow slightly larger as he responded.
"Exactly. In my own, to be precise. Here, I'll send you to reincarnate somewhere I'm sure you'll find familiar. Not only that, but I'll make sure to preserve your previous life's memories and even gift you 3 powerful perks. The latter will be essential to help you grow as quickly as possible."
Halting his words for a brief moment, he then added,
"Still, don't think it'll be smooth sailing, kid. Those memories and perks will be sealed until a certain point in your life, for reasons you'll understand in the future."
When Damian heard the man's generous offer, instead of being excited, a trace of worry appeared inside him, prompting a question to surface in his mind. "It feels too good to be true, doesn't it?" Catching the soul's thought, the unknown man let out a few chuckles before explaining.
"No need to worry, kid. Yes, there is a reason behind my actions, but none that are detrimental to you. Pretty much the opposite, really. Think of it as a win-win situation, with you receiving support in your growth, while I also get some benefits on the side. Still, I won't explain more before you reach the right level.
Although Damian did not trust the other man's words completely, he knew there was nothing he could do but use what he would receive to grow as strong as possible and as quickly as possible. Only with enough strength could he find out the truth behind the unknown man's actions, and whether he was truly well intentioned. In the meantime, he asked, "You mentioned perks? Do you mean some sort of superpower? Do I get to choose?" Despite knowing what was in Damian's mind, the entity did not mention it and instead explained.
Correct. I will grant you 3 superpowers, as you put it. And yes, but each perk will be limited to your strength level. So forget about reaching the top right at the start.
As the saying went, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Damian was getting 3 powers for free, so he would certainly not complain about the specifics. Plus, he always believed that having foundational powers, one that could help him grow all the way to the highest level, were much more interesting than ones that would directly bring him there. To him, the process of growth itself was the most interesting part, rather than the final results. Thus, the two discussed together for a while, with the entity giving a few suggestions while also drawing some limits to Damian's list of bugs. It was only an unknown time later that both finalized the choices, with the entity commenting.
Equalized, adaptation, love bond, and soul shield. Both powerful and complementary. Hopefully you'll use them well.
As the words fell into Damian's ears, his consciousness started to blur again, with only the following sentences registering in his mind.
Good luck with your new life, kid. I'll be waiting for your next visit.
As the soul vanished from this dimension, the entity coalesced into a stunningly handsome man with shoulder-length black hair and an infectious smile on his face. Laughing mischievously, he commented,
I can't wait to see that kid's face when he realizes that my gifts extend much further than 3 superpowers. Then again, he might just be pissed off at me for hiding it from him. Oh well, that'll make for a good story for his future kids and something I can tease him about next time I see him.
With a thought, an image of 4 people appeared, pulled from the river of time, with 1 man and 3 women, with each possessing otherworldly charms. On their faces, the entity could see an expression of astonishment, prompting a few chuckles from him before he waved away the scene and exclaimed,
Alright, no spoilers.
Then the man started humming a song, his figure slowly vanishing from the soul realm, while his voice echoed slightly longer before disappearing completely, leaving the realm somewhat desolate.
Well, I saddled up my shoes, headed out at dawn. Yeah, I saddled up my shoes, headed out at dawn. Ain't no place gonna hold me when the road keep rolling on.
When Damian lost consciousness in that strange place, all concept of time seemed to disappear, making it impossible for him to determine how long he slept. Minutes, or maybe years. He could not tell. Nonetheless, he did retain his memories once he finally awakened. Still, something puzzled him. Why do I also have the memory of a Damian Mikhailov? Didn't that man say I'd keep my memories in this life? Who am I then? Damian Knight? Or Damian Mikhailov. He felt utterly confused, having in his mind two sets of memories completely different and separated, akin to a split personality disorder. Fortunately, the dissonance only lasted a brief moment before the two sets of memories started merging together, anchoring themselves inside the depths of his consciousness. After a while, the young man's heart settled down at last, his new identity somewhat clearer in his eyes. I am Damian, but also Damian? I am both and also neither. What a mess. Now that his mind was calmer, he was finally able to focus on his current situation. So I've really been reborn. Recalling everything, it's truly my body and not what I'm possessed after the previous owner's death. Damian Mikhailov hasn't died yet, after all. Or I guess I should say I haven't died yet. What about my powers then? Or perks, as he called them? 18 years and still no trace? Wait, since I got my memories back, those perks should be active as well, shouldn't they? Unwittingly, his mind was avoiding recalling his violent death and what it implied, focusing on trying to understand his new life and its dangers instead. I seemed to still be on Earth, though the parallel kind? Same name, different circumstances? Well, I expected magic or something because of my perks, but there are even superhumans? No wizard, though. At least as far as I know, which, to be fair, isn't much. His thoughts were suddenly interrupted as a soft female voice, one that was surprisingly similar to Sophia, resounded in his ears. It was especially confusing as the woman was speaking some kind of Russian dialect, one he strangely understood perfectly, thanks to his 18 years as Damian Mikhailov, his new identity. It took only a brief moment before he finally recalled who the voice owner was, bringing forth a gloomy thought. Now that I've been reborn, I guess I won't see those guys again, huh? Mom, Michael, and Jane, even Sophia. Some parting were temporary, others were forever. Some were planned, others unexpected. However, every sort brought a sense of pain. For the young man, Damian now, everyone he had ever loved, cared about, or even smiled to, were gone from his life. An entire multiverse of distance between them. How far was that? Even if he grew strong enough one day, wouldn't everyone be dead by then? Not knowing how long he spent before he lived again, they might have already passed away by now. If so, and they were reincarnated without memories of him, then even if he could meet them, would they even be the same people he knew of? No, he had to accept reality. The only place the people he treasured were left was in his own memories, leaving him utterly alone in this new life. As that realization settled in his mind, a crushing sadness surged in his heart, threatening to overwhelm him until a name appeared in his mind, a name that radiated a warm comfort. Adelia Mikhailov. Although they shared the same surname, she and Damian were not blood related. The story behind that coincidence? Well, let's just say it was somewhat complicated, and even he was not entirely clear about everything. The only thing he knew was that the name came from Adelia's late sister, who was supposedly Damian's father's wife. Now, normally she should have been Damian's mother, as Adelia told him the woman had died in childbirth, but she never explicitly said that he was her son. Why was it the case, or Why did he not receive his father's last name? Damian had no clue and, frankly, never asked in the past, as his previous unawakened self harbored a deep grudge against his absent father, and thus willingly chose to ignore the mysteries behind his own birth. Back to Adelia. The woman was truly selfless, raising him from his birth alongside her two older daughters alone, as her husband had passed away a few years prior. The two were not related, but she still cared about him deeply. To be honest, the version of him without memories simply took it for granted, merely feeling some familial affection and deep admiration. However, his current self, with 30 years worth of life memories, turned those feelings into something slightly different. His musings were suddenly interrupted by a discreet sobbing sound coming from close by, along with some barely audible mutters. It was Adelia, his aunt, reproaching his previous recklessness. Well, recalling how he had gone and punched that guy to protect her, but was knocked out in return, he could understand her concerns. After all, his current body had always been innately deficient. The doctors called it an atrophic gravis, fancy Latin words for "you're extremely feeble and we have no idea what caused it." He often fell sick, and the slight exertion took a massive toll on him, let alone being punched directly in the face. Frankly, him dying a second time from the shock would not have been surprising. Fortunately, he both survived and awakened his memories in the process. Stay with me, Damian. As Damian's ears caught Adelia's words, he felt a sudden weight falling on the mattress before the room fell silent again, prompting him to sigh inwardly as he thought. She fell asleep, didn't she? Feeling a surge of mixed feeling, the young man started to examine his own body, trying to open his eyes. However, due to his physical weakness, it took him a while before he finally succeeded. Sensing his own lack of strength, a wry thought came to his mind. Well, this is gonna be a pain, isn't it? Time has a tendency to slip through one's fingers, hasn't it? Sadly, it seems that I must halt my retelling today. Fear not, though, as it is only a matter of time before we meet again. Until then, mysteries and magic may abound in stories, but remember that the most fantastical of them all is life itself.